All right, in other news now, the Supreme Court has cracked the whip on the BCCI, sacking the board president Anurag Thakur and Secretary Ajay Shirke. The court has also initiated contempt proceedings against Thakur. The verdict in the BCCI versus Lodha committee comes after months of a bitter court battle. Well, a committee of administrators will run the board now. Senior advocate Fali S. Nariman and Gopal Subramaniam will assist the court in nominating members in the committee of administrators. The BCCI's the senior-most BCCI Vice President, C.K. Khanna, will act as President, while the Joint Secretary, Amitabh Chaudhary, will act as Secretary. All BCCI office bearers and state associations will now have to give an undertaking that they will abide by the Lodha Committee recommendations. The court also, in fact, said that it will pass a separate order on January the 19th for appointing an administrator.
Namaskar. I had the honor of serving Indian cricket. Over the years, Indian cricket saw its very best in terms of administration and development of the game. BCCI is the best managed sports organization in the country with defined procedures. India has the best cricket infrastructure built and maintained by the state associations with the help of BCCI. India has more quality players than anywhere in the world. For me, it was not a personal battle. It was a battle for the autonomy of the sports body. I respect Supreme Court as any citizen should. Supreme Court judges feel that BCCI could do better under retired judges. I wish them all the best. I'm sure Indian cricket will do well under their guidance. My commitment to the best of Indian cricket and autonomy of sports will always remain.
Why? It's not a big blow. It's that now that the bad people have gone, it's good for BCCI. It's a decision of the court which we have to respect. I am, as I speak to you, I'm no longer the secretary of the board.
Yes.
And the joint secretary has taken over that position. So it will be now my job. Whatever I was doing will be done by him. The question of taking decisions in the BCCI is not the prerogative of the president or the secretary.
Okay.
Certain decisions like amendments to the constitution are to be decided by the whole body, by the members, by the general body.
Okay.
Now we called those meetings, we got those decisions implemented to the extent that we could. Now, we cannot force each and every member to take a particular decision. Like, please tell me that almost 10 of the members who were coming to attend the general body meeting have to vote to throw themselves out of the board. Will they ever take such a decision?
Anurag Thakur, the BCCI former president, he has been talking that he had done nothing wrong and he has been taking the help of former cricketers. Was that also a fair practice? Because once you cannot try to influence the Supreme Court's decision by any case.
Whatever he had to say, he said before the Supreme Court, and as Supreme Court has passed the order, that's final. Look, be you ever so high, law is above you. That's a big saying. And the judgment of the Supreme Court is law of the land, is binding on all. Once it was passed, BCCI was bound to follow. It pursued its legal process, but once their objections were not accepted, obviously the order was required to be implemented. And when, despite repeated opportunities given to them, when BCCI and its office bearers failed to implement the Supreme Court judgment, it was bound to happen, and it has happened. If a sports code is implemented and if our report is treated as template for other sports organizations, I welcome it because it would bring in transparency, accountability and good governance in all sports organizations.
What has not been understood by many, or some I would say, is the fact that these were no longer the Lodha Committee recommendations. They had become the judgment of the Supreme Court, which cannot be debated. Unfortunately, there has been a debate that we can't follow this, we cannot do this. Right or wrong, the Supreme Court judgment is binding on every association, every body and every individual in this country. They give them time and again opportunities to mold themselves according to the Supreme Court judgment now, not the Lodha Committee recommendation. But I think the BCCI for not agreeing to, not following it, so this was a consequence.
This is a very prominent decision, and the very fact that the highest court in the country had to take it up, it indicates that things were pretty bad, and they were getting out of hand. But they have been, the evil, to my mind, has been nipped in the bud now.
उच्चतम न्यायालय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो निर्णय आया है वो भी मैंने देखा नहीं, एक बार देखने के बाद मेरे लिए टिप्पणी करना ठीक है.
Question of Anurag Thakur and others, I don't know the merits and demerits. I have not read the judgment. But about Maharashtra and Bombay and Vidarbha, I think all cricketers and cricket-loving people from that state will be very, very unhappy. It is the saddest day for them.
Writing was very much on the wall. The Lodha committee was formed with this particular purpose to see that these reforms were implemented. Board were given far too many opportunities to implement them. Under the guise of the members not agreeing, this was not implemented, which was rather unfortunate. The question that arises is that what next? Now, I think personally that the Joint Secretary would take over as the Secretary of the Board and run the affairs of the Board. In the meanwhile, a High Court committee would be formed by the Board, by the Honorable Supreme Court, which will run the affairs of the Board on day-to-day basis, at least for a couple of months.
Lodha Commission come out with all stakeholders and they have given a roadmap for the future of the cricket. But Lodha Commission recommendation, they were trying to play like a really ball here and there. And they were denying the Supreme Court judgment. You know, you can give your opinion about the judgment, but how can you deny the recommendation of the judgment part? So that BCCI was doing. They have filed the wrong affidavit, perjury case is there, the contempt case is there. So both way their removal is justified.
Whatever Supreme Court has said, that is the final, and we all have to abide that. See, whatever, let the first read full the report, and then our lawyer will give us our advice what to do in our state cricket association.